Okay, so you're a first-year medical student, and you're probably staring at a mountain of reading that feels, well, impossible. Today, we're going to give you a roadmap, a framework, to help you actually conquer that mountain. Let's dive in.
Let's be real. If you're looking at your textbooks, your lecture notes, all those articles, and you feel like you're completely drowning, you are not alone. Not at all. That feeling is basically a rite of passage for med students. The sheer amount of stuff to read is just staggering.
But here's the secret. Getting through all this, it's not about being smarter or reading faster. It's about being more strategic. The problem isn't your brain power. It's that you haven't been taught how to read for this level of learning. And that's exactly what we're going to fix today. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to talk about a system called SQ3R. We'll walk through what to do before you read, how to read actively, and then how to review so you actually remember what you learned.
Okay, let's get right to it. The core of this whole strategy is a framework called SQ3R. I want you to think of this as a new operating system for your brain when you study. It's designed to take you from being a passive reader, just letting words wash over you, to an active learner who's actually engaging with the material.
So what does SQ3R stand for? It's just 5 simple steps: survey, question, read, recite, and review. But please, don't look at this as just another checklist to memorize. It's a way of thinking that completely changes how you process information, moving you from just memorizing facts to actually understanding them.
Let's start with those first 2 steps, survey and question. And honestly, what you do before you even start reading a single paragraph is probably the most important part of this whole process. It's all about setting your brain up for success.
The first step is to survey. And I love this analogy. You wouldn't just jump in a car and start a cross-country road trip without looking at a map, would you? Of course not. Surveying a chapter is the exact same thing. You're getting the lay of the land. You're seeing the big picture before you dive into all the little details. So, what are you actually looking for? It only takes a few minutes. You just scan the title, all the headings and subheadings, take a good look at the pictures, the tables, the diagrams. A lot of times, that's where the most important info is hiding. Read the first paragraph and the last one. Glance at any bold words. This little preview creates a mental skeleton that you can start hanging all the new information on.
Now for the step that is a total game changer, the question step. This is where you switch from being a passive student to an active detective. By turning things like headings into questions before you read, you give your brain a mission. You're not just reading anymore, you're actively hunting for answers. But what question should you ask? To make this super easy and effective for you as a medical student, we can use a tool called the Universal 5 Questions, or U5Q. Think of it as a toolkit specifically designed to build a bridge from all the basic science you're learning now to the clinical thinking you'll need as a doctor. And here they are. They are so simple, but so powerful. What is it? What does it do? How does it work? What happens if it goes wrong? And maybe the most important one of all, why should a doctor care? And here's the best part. You don't need to ask all 5 for every single topic. Just picking 2 or 3 that seem relevant is all you need to do to focus your mind. Just look at how well this works across all your classes. When you're studying GFR and physiology, asking why care forces you to think about acute kidney injury. When you're learning about ACE inhibitors in pharm, it makes you think about why you would choose that drug and what to watch out for. You see, this isn't just about passing your next exam. It's about building the mental connections you'll use in the clinic for the rest of your life.
Okay, so we've surveyed the chapter, we have our questions ready to go. Now we can finally move into the active reading phase. This is where we get into the text, but the difference is now we're reading with a purpose. This part covers the read and recite steps.
So when you actually start reading, you don't have to read every single word with the same level of focus. 2 of your most important tools are skimming and scanning. Skimming is when you're going for the big picture, the main idea. You're just asking, what is this section basically about? Scanning, on the other hand, is like using a search function. You're looking for one specific thing, a name, a number, a definition. Knowing when to do which is a huge time saver. So how do you know which one to use? Well, you skim when you're first checking out an article to see if it's even worth your time, or maybe when you're reviewing a chapter you already read. You scan when you're hunting for that one specific fact you need to answer one of your questions. Using these tools strategically is how you get through massive amounts of text without going crazy. Okay, after you've read a section, it is time for the recite step. And this is so important. You have to close the book, Look away from your screen and try to summarize the main points out loud, in your own words. If you can explain a concept simply, like you were teaching it to a friend who knows nothing about it, that is the ultimate proof that you actually understand it. If you stumble, that's great. Now you know exactly what you need to go back and look at again.
And that brings us to the final, and I'd argue most critical phase for creating knowledge that actually lasts: review and reflect. This is what separates the people who just cram for an exam from the future doctors who can pull up that knowledge years later when it matters. A really effective review is so much more than just rereading your highlights. We can break it down into 3 simple but powerful actions: relate, rewrite, and reflect. This is how you build that deep, web-like knowledge base.
So what does that actually look like? Well, first, you relate. How does this new topic connect to something you learned last semester? Second, you rewrite. Don't just copy your notes over. Make a brand new summary from memory, or draw a concept map. And finally, you reflect. You keep asking that powerful question: why does this matter? How am I going to use this to help a real person someday?
And that's really the whole point. Using a system like this isn't just a study hack, it is a training regimen. You're not just memorizing facts to get a good grade on your next test. You are actively, intentionally building the mental foundation you need to think like a physician.
So I'll leave you with this. The next time you sit down to study, ask yourself, am I just trying to get through the words on the page, or am I building my clinical mind? Start small. Just try this on 1 chapter this week. I promise, it takes a little practice, but developing these skills will pay off for your entire career. You've got this.